Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a TBR video. It is that time of month. Crazy to think it's September already, but I have here the stack of selection that will be read this September. This does also include a book that I don't have a physical copy of. Sorry, the ladies are having a good time chasing each other around the house right now. So just kind of letting them do their thing. But for those of you that are new here, my name is Jaya. I put out book-related content on this channel. I love all things fiction for the most part, with a smattering here and there of maybe some memoirs and things like that. But for the most part, it's definitely a fiction channel. Within that, though, we read all kinds of fiction, all different genres, all different backgrounds. And the purpose being that I just want to expand my book world, and I just find great joy in books. If that sounds like it's up your alley, then you're definitely in the right place, and I'm so excited to have you here with me. The first book that I want to talk about is actually the books that I will be reading for book club, but just wanted to say, if TBR sounds like it is something that you want to hear as we're getting ready to enter into the stage of fall, which is my favorite season of the year, then definitely hang out. It's reading time here at JB's Corner. Now, the first book on the list is The Last Heir of Blackwood Library. This is written by Hester Fox, I apologize. It is actually the book that has been selected to be read with the Paper and Glam Book Club. They are absolutely wonderful. It was started by a beautiful woman named Elissa Marie Landreth, who decided that she wanted to share her obsession with reading with all of the like-minded readers out there, and we basically do monthly book meetups via Zoom where we discuss all these lovely titles. If that's something you're interested in, she has moved over to Patreon and other sites. I'll definitely link the URL for accessing her channel. And if you are interested, we would love to see you on that team. But very, very excited for this book. Now, with the Paper and Glam books, I just feel like because we vote on all the titles, we get a rough idea of what the book is, but we vote a year in advance. So I won't be seeing this title again for the whole year. So I like to go into the books blind. So I will be entering into this book blind, but I just love the fall colors on this book, and I cannot wait to jump into this book. So book one on the list is The Last Heir to Blackwood Library. From there, I want to talk about the second book that I'll be reading for book club. This is actually part of a book club that I had the great honor of helping lead. It was actually started by a wonderful woman named Shane. It's called the Overbooked Book Club. We do primarily run our platform through Facebook. So if you aren't on Facebook, I know it's hard to find us. If you are interested though, just go ahead and ask to join the group, and one of our admin staff will let you in. And then once you're in the group, we basically vote on a different title every month. The vote for the next month's title is usually offered for the vote and the poll about 2 weeks prior to the beginning of the new month, so that everyone has time to grab the book. And then we discuss the book at the end of the month, typically on the last Wednesday of every month. Sometimes we do have some dates that change because of upcoming holidays or things that may be going on, but we do a Zoom link video once a month to discuss the book. So that being said, the book that was selected for this month with that book club is The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. I am so excited for this book. This is actually, I believe, the Fairy Loot exclusive edition, and I remember seeing this book and falling in love with it, and just the idea of the whimsical fantasy that it represents. Very cozy mystery vibes, which I feel like is very appropriate for the fall. So September, these books you'll notice are either very contemporary, like thought-provoking potentially, or like cozy contemporary books, or they are kind of magical realism adjacent, and that's kind of what this one falls under. It is an absolutely stunning copy of this book. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I love the cover as well. It's like this beautiful, beautiful pink hardback. And then the interior is just gorgeous as well. But let's read together what this book is about. Charming, Relatable, and Tender by Maehrer. Fleeing a troubled past, immigrant fortune teller Tao roams the dusty countryside with only her mule for company, telling small fortunes for small prices. Big fortunes come with big consequences, which she knows from bitter experience. It's a lonely life until she encounters an ex-mercenary and a semi-reformed thief who recruit her into their desperate search for a lost child. Soon they're joined by a baker with a need for adventure, spelled Knead, and of course a slightly magical cat, because every single one of these books needs a cat. Tao sets down a new path with companions as big-hearted as her fortunes are small, but as her friends break down her walls, the shadows of her past close in. Now Tao must decide whether to risk everything to save the family she never thought she could have. So absolutely beautiful. I love the idea of found family. I love the idea of character growth. I love the idea of an adventure and just kind of that cozy fantasy vibe. So very, very excited to read this book. And this is the book that we will be reading for our book club this month in September. Now, when we were selecting titles to put up for vote in September, I realized that I kind of wanted something in that exact category that I mentioned before, which is that magical realism adjacent to contemporary fiction, something that is thought-provoking but also emotionally cozy, and maybe toggle off between the different titles as I go through the month. The next book I have on this list that I want to talk about is by one of my favorite authors, and he is actually a queer author, and it took me a long time to kind of open my mind to queer novels. Not because I have anything against LGBTQ in any way, shape, or form. I have very close friends in LGBT who are LGBTQ. I've also had roommates who are LGBTQ who I love wholeheartedly. But I think someone who has always identified in a certain way, I related more to characters that are from that background. And so I wasn't sure if I would be able to appreciate and understand the love stories at the same level. And I have been proven unimaginably incorrect. I have started reading more queer and sapphic novels where in terms of the romance, and I found that it reads just like any other novel and it's absolutely beautiful. But if there's one person who can speak to heart, soul, emotion, found family, and just the beauty of what love is, loving another human, loving another person, individual, it is TJ Klune. Now, I absolutely love this author. I am obsessed. I really, really want to read his werewolf series, which I have not had a chance to get my hands on yet, but I do firmly want to read that series. I have such a unimaginable appreciation and love for this author. He wrote some of my favorite books of all time, one being The House in the Cerulean Sea. I know there was a lot of controversy surrounding that book because of the historical aspect that it pulls from, but I thoroughly enjoyed that book, and I think it really captured a lot of depth in it in terms of societal norms that have been accepted that shouldn't be accepted, that need to be changed, and that acceptance is a big deal. And it was done in such a beautiful way with such whimsical, happy characters, and it was just beautiful to read. In terms to that, there was a second book that was released, which is Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and that one was also equally entertaining and beautiful and just gut-wrenchingly beautiful. I've also read Under the Whispering Door, as well as in a Land of Puppets. No, that's not what it's called. What is it called? I will figure it out. But the point being, something puppets. But that book was absolutely phenomenal. And I just think TJ Klune has this way of weaving a story that just impacts the heart so deeply. So I found this beautiful version of The Bones Beneath My Skin, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into it, literally. So let me read the interior of this book just to give you guys an idea of how amazing this book sounds. Two new friends will change his world. In the spring of 1995, Nate Cartwright is at loose end. His parents are dead, his older brother has disowned him, and he's been fired from his job. Looking for a sense of direction, he returns to his family's summer cabin in Oregon. The cabin should be empty, but it's not. Inside is a man named Alex and an extraordinary little girl who calls herself Artemis Darth Vader. There's far more to art than meets the eye, but as Nate and Alex bond over just how special she truly is, they discover that powerful forces are closing in, forces that want nothing more than to control her. As danger draws near, Nate must decide whether to drown in the memories of his past or fight for art and a future he never thought possible. Embark on an action-packed, supernatural road trip featuring TJ Klune's trademark warmth and heartfelt sense of hope. And I don't think there's a better way to describe his writing. It's just a heartfelt sense of hope. And there's just so much emotion that his books draw from you. I'm getting teared up just thinking about how much I'm going to love this book. That's how much I love TJ Klune. So for anyone who has not read him, here is my ringing endorsement for this author. He is absolutely phenomenal, and I really hope you guys get a chance to pick up one of his books. They are just beautifully written, and it is a cup of tea for every single person out there. The next book I have here is Watermoon. This is a new book that was released this year, I want to say a few months ago, and it kind of has that mystical, magical vibe, and has that very exact same feeling that I feel like is encompassed in Before the Coffee Gets Cold. So anyone who likes a Japanese author, that Toshikazu Kawaguchi wrote a series based on a tea shop where basically at a certain table at a certain time, if you drink your coffee, you can revisit a moment in your past, and it doesn't rewrite the future, it doesn't rewrite what happened, but in that one instance until the coffee gets cold, you can relive that moment, reimagine it, and try to use that moment to help you find closure, if you will, for something that's happened in your life. And I remember that book being extremely beautiful and powerful for me. It's a bunch of small stories that are put together. And so when I read the inside cover of this book, I knew that this was one that I wanted to read around this time because it evokes the same kind of feeling. This is by Samantha, Sotto, Yambao. I hope I'm saying that correctly. My pronunciations are not the best, but let's read about what it's about. A woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop in this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel. On a back street in Tokyo lies a pawn shop, but not everyone can find it. Most will see a cozy ramen restaurant, and only the chosen ones, those who are lost, will find a place to pawn their life choices and deepest regrets. Hana Ishikawa wakes on her first morning as the pawn shop's new owner to find it ransacked, the shop's most precious acquisitions stolen, and her father missing. And then into the shop stumbles a charming stranger, quite unlike its other customers, for he offers help instead of seeking it. Together they must journey through a mystical world to find Hana's father and the stolen choice by way of rain puddles, rides on paper cranes, and the bridge between midnight and morning, and a night market in the clouds. But as they get closer to the truth, Hana must reveal a secret of her own and risk making a choice that she will never be able to take back. And I just think that sounds like so much fun. And I'm so excited to be transported into this beautiful fantasy mystical world and see how our character grows, develops, and also see the romance between these two characters, which I anticipate is going to happen at some point throughout the course of this book. But even the cover just looks so beautiful. Like, I can't wait to pick up this book and start reading it. Unfortunately, I'm definitely that aesthetic girly for sure. And I realize that that's a bit of a faux pas these days, but I absolutely still love just creating that magical world for myself when I read. The next book that I want to talk about is Intermezzo. Now, this is truly a more contemporary book, and it's, I think, speaking more to rekindling family relationships and growing as an individual, and the differences between adulthood and childhood is kind of the vibes I got from this book. I've never read a Sally Rooney book. I know she's a very, very popular author, so I'm very excited to sink my teeth into this book. But let's read what it's about. An exquisitely moving story about grief, love, and family, but especially love, from the global phenomenon Sally Rooney. Aside from the fact that they are brothers, Peter and Ivan Kobeck seem to have little in common. Peter is a Dublin lawyer in his 30s, successful, competent, and apparently unsaleable. But in the wake of their father's death, he's medicating himself to sleep and struggling to manage his relationship with two very different women. His enduring first love, Sylvia, and Naomi, a college student from whom life is one long joke. Ivan is a 22-year-old competitive chess player. He has always seen himself as socially awkward, a loner, the antithesis of his glib elder brother. Now, in the early weeks of his bereavement, Ivan meets Margaret, an older woman emerging from her own turbulent past, and their lives become rapidly and intensely intertwined. For two grieving brothers and the people they love, this is a new interlude, a period of desire, despair, and possibility, a chance to find out how much one life might hold inside itself without breaking. I just think that sounds so beautiful. I'm very curious to see where this story takes me. I really hope the brothers reconnect, and I'm very curious to see where these relationships with these very different women from different backgrounds of the world of time, not different backgrounds of the world, different backgrounds in terms of their history is going to affect these two brothers as they set sail on this journey of recovering after the loss of such a loved one. The next book I have on my list is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is probably the third or fourth time I've picked up this book, and I'm trying really hard to read it this time. It sounds absolutely incredible. It has won awards. It has been celebrated by so many authors. It came out back in 2022. When it did come out, it actually won the Book of the Year award by Book of the Month, which is a big deal. And I ended up selecting it as my Lolly Award book. And somehow I have yet to read this book. But I'm very excited to see where this takes me. This is true contemporary fiction, and it's following the relationship to two characters starting from early days all the way through adulthood. And they've basically created a gaming system together. But during the course of all this, it's also unrequited love that's being shared in this story. So I'm very curious to see where the human aspect takes me. I think the reason why I've been struggling with picking up this book so much is because I'm not a big video gamer, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to appreciate the book when I know that's a central component of the plot. But I've heard that while it's weaved into the story quite a bit, it's not what actually makes the story beautiful to read. So I'm hoping that this is the month that we're going to pick up this book. So let's read the inside cover. On a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Maehrer exits a subway car and sees, amid hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and a game begins. A legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ishigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich. But these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years, from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, and the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before. So again, I'm really nervous to read this book, but it just sounds so cool, and I really feel like this is the month that I'm going to pick it up, and I'm very excited for this contemporary fiction novel. Next up, The Wishing Game. I've also heard wonderful things about this book, so I'm very excited to see where this will take me. Let's see what it says on the inside. Make a wish. Lucy Hart knows better than anyone what it's like to grow up without parents who loved her. In a childhood marked by neglect and loneliness, Lucy found her solace in books, namely the Clock Island series by Jack Matterson. Now a 26-year-old teacher's aide, Lucy is able to share her love of reading with bright young students, especially 7-year-old orphan Christopher Lamb. Lucy would give anything to adopt Christopher, but even the idea of becoming a family seems like an impossible dream without proper funds and stability. Matilda vibes for me right there. Just when Lucy is about to give up, Jack Matterson announces he's finally written a new book. Even better, he's holding a contest at his home on the real Clock Island, and Lucy's one of the 4 lucky contestants chosen to compete to win the one and only copy. For Lucy, the chance of winning the most sought-after book in the world means everything to her and Christopher. But first she must contend with ruthless book collectors, wily opponents, and the distractingly handsome and grumpy Hugo Reese. the illustrator of the Clock Island books. Meanwhile, Jack the Mastermind Masterson is plotting the ultimate twist ending that could change all their lives forever. So I'm very excited to pick this one up too. Again, it kind of gives me that Matilda vibe of this like young teacher connecting to her student and wanting to create this safe haven for them. Both of them coming from kind of like broken pasts, and the only way to do it is to successfully escape their world. And now they have this opportunity of, you know, winning this competition and meeting their favorite author of all time. Like, it just sounds like so much fun. And I've heard from a lot of people who've read this book that it's just like a hug in a book. And I feel like that's exactly what I'm looking for this season, especially coming out of Dark Academia, which was obviously beautiful, fun, and entertaining to read, especially moving into August as school's restarting. But I do feel like it's a darker shade, and it does tend to have a lot of the negative sides of human psychology that is explored in Dark Academia and the supernatural. So I'm really looking forward to something lighter, a little bit fluffier, a little bit happier, but still has that cozy vibe that we're looking for in the fall. And I think The Wishing Game is going to deliver. The next book, guys, is absolutely something that I have been waiting for. This is the third book in a series that I have absolutely fallen in love with. I first introduced myself to this book, I want to say last year, and I immediately jumped into the following book right away. And I ended up reading this book until 3 a.m, trying to finish it when I'd gone home to Dallas for vacation. And I think I got about 4 hours of sleep that day, and I regretted absolutely nothing. And I'm talking about none other than Accomplice to the Villain, which is the third book in the Apprentice to the Villain series. This is by Nicole and Maehrer. I don't think I said that right. But the beauty of this series is like it captures everything you would be looking for in a cozy fantasy novel. And it's definitely written in a very adult way, but it's closed door, which I think was absolutely amazing. And it's very slow burn, but I just love the way the two characters are being developed. So basically the gist of the story is there is a man who's known as quote unquote the villain. He lives in the forest in his magical castle with all of his, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? He's working with all of these people who are considered to be outcasts and like problematic members of society. And he's basically up against the king, who is beloved by everyone in the city. However, the deeper story goes that the villain was actually betrayed by the king, which is why he has so much hatred towards the king. Now, our main female character, Miss Evie, ends up in a position where she no longer has a job and she doesn't know what to do with herself when she finds herself in the forest meeting this injured man. And basically she decides that she's going to take it upon herself to help, and she inadvertently gets offered a job position as the apprentice to the villain. And throughout the course of the first book, she starts to realize that, you know, just because something is called evil doesn't necessarily mean it is evil, and that what you think is good may not actually actively be good. Evie is also the primary caregiver for her younger sister and has also been taking care of her father, who is basically an invalid. Her mother is no longer in the picture. So Evie has kind of been supporting everyone throughout the course of all this, and the slow burn romance is happening between her and her boss. At the end of the first book, you're left with a little bit of a cliffhanger and you realize some new information, and you're rooting for Evie and the villain even more. Then we hit apprentice to the villain, and an apprentice to the villain, she's basically being appointed as the next runner-up for the villain, essentially, and she is training in his methods and his ways and is moving on to higher levels within the chain of duty. She has a little quarrel going on with one of the other co-workers where they're trying to establish where their dominance lies. They're both vying for the favor of the villain. She also learns about dragons and other magical creatures, and she deals with a man who basically slips in and decides that he's going to be the magical creature keeper. And there's a frog that was originally a human that got turned into a frog, and he lives with the villain, and he only communicates with one little word signs. And it's just such a beautiful world that has been created, and you so slowly see Evie coming out of her shell and also discovering more about her mother and what happened and all of this other information. Because up until this point, she has believed her mother went mad, which is why she died. So now we finally got the third book in the installment. It's here. I'm so excited. It's called Accomplice to the Villain, and let me read the back to you guys. Evie Sage didn't mean to become the right-hand woman to the kingdom's most terrifying villain. One minute she was applying for an entry-level position that promised light paperwork and occasional beheadings, and the next she was knee-deep in magical mayhem, murder plots, and an entirely inappropriate crush on her brooding, sharp-jawed, walking disaster of a boss. Now, with a magical prophecy unraveling, assassins showing up in the break room, and a suspicious amount of frogs wearing crowns, Evie has to figure out how to survive her job without setting the kingdom on fire, or her dignity, which is hanging by a very sarcastic thread. Being evil adjacent was never part of the 5-year plan, but then again, neither was falling for the villain. I'm so excited. This is the 3rd book in the series, and I believe the 4th and final book will be coming out soon, and I cannot wait to jump into this book and into this world again. I don't know if you can tell how excited I am, but I'm so excited to finally be able to read this book. The next book I have on my wish list or TBR list for September to read is by Elinor Lipman, and it's Miss Demeanor. So in this book, we basically have a woman who's fallen from grace, and she has to pick herself back up with a set of quirky characters. This book was actually gifted to me by my best friend, and she also has it on her shelf. I'm unclear as to whether or not she has read it yet, but it just sounds so salacious and funny and very contemporary fiction that I had to pick it up this month. Also, the orange cover, perfect for the fall. So let's read the back. From one of America's most beloved contemporary novelists, a delicious and witty story about love under house arrest. Jane Morgan is a valued member of her law firm, or was, until a prudish neighbor, binoculars poised, observes her having sex on the roof of her New York City apartment building. Police are summoned, and a punishing judge sentences her to 6 months of home confinement. With Jane now jobless, rootless, and trapped at home, life looks bleak. Yes, her twin sister provides support and advice, but mostly of the unwelcome kind. When a doorman lets slip that Jane isn't the only resident wearing an ankle monitor, she strikes up a friendship with fellow white-collar criminal Perry Salisbury. As she tries to adapt to life within her apartment walls, she discovers she hasn't heard the end of that tattletale neighbor, whose past isn't as decorous as her 911 snitching would suggest. Why are police knocking on Jane's door again? Can her house arrest have a silver lining? Can 2 wrongs make a right? In the hands of an inspired alchemist who converts serious subjects into humor. Yes, delightfully. And that was the New York Times book review, which I just think is even more of a sell for this book for me. I am so excited to pick up this book and read it, and I'm just very, very excited to see where it takes me. So there we have it, Miss Demeanor. Next up on the list, I have Jane Eyre. This is also a gift that was given to me by one of my friends that I met after moving to my husband's hometown. It is supposed to be magical and mystical and has that contemporary cozy fiction vibe based on what I've heard about the book. So I'm very excited to see where this book will take me. Let me read the back to you guys. Meet Thursday next. She's part Bridget Jones, part Nancy Drew, and part Dirty Harry. Welcome to a surreal version of Great Britain, circa 1985, where time travel is routine, cloning is a reality, dodos are the resurrected pet of choice, and literature is taken very, very seriously. England is a virtual police state where an aunt can get lost, literally, in a Wordsworth poem. Militant Baconians heckle performances of Hamlet, and forging Byronic verse is a punishable offense. All this is business as usual for Thursday next. Renowned special operatives in literary detection until someone begins kidnapping characters from works of literature. When Jane Eyre is plucked from the pages of Bronte's novel, Thursday must track down the villain and enter a novel herself to avert a heinous act of literary homicide. Can't thank you enough for this, Vasudha. I'm so excited to read this. I think it's going to be absolutely hilarious and the perfect level of cozy, magical mystery, as well as contemporary fiction, ready to enter into this fantastical world. Thank you so much for magical realism. The last 2 books, we have arrived. This is one of my favorite authors of all time, none other than Fredrik Backman. I just feel like Fredrik Backman is a winter-fall read for me. His style of writing is so unique and so beautiful. I recently completed his series, what is it called? Now I'm blanking. The Winners is the final book in the series, which is not what I was trying to say. Beartown series, which was absolutely incredible. Every single book of all 3 books in the series were 5 stars, which I found to be a rare find. And so I was so excited to sit down and read those books. Very, 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 very impressed at the quality of writing that Fredrik Backman has to offer. He recently released a new novel called My Friends, which has so much acclaim in the internet space in terms of that book and just how much emotion it pulls from you. And I also read a book called Anxious People by him, which was my very first introduction to Fredrik Backman. And I not only fell obsessively in love with that book, I made every single one of my friends read it. And it is truly one of the greatest works of literature that I have ever read. And I just think this man has a way of telling a story in such a poignant way. He uses such simple sentence structure. He doesn't do anything crazy with his grammar, but the overall cadence of his story, the writing, the way that the story comes together, it just melts your heart and you feel like you're there and you feel one with every single one of the characters. Most of the books that I've read, it's either been multiple point of view or it has been like uneven timeline, kind of bringing us to the end of the tale. So the initial start off of the book might be a little bit confusing, but overall the book just solidifies and slips right into place. So when I heard A Man Called Ove is not only celebrated him, but basically the retelling of Up by Disney, I was like, I had to pick this book up. Not Disney, Pixar. Disney, Pixar are the same thing now, but I think at that point they weren't combined yet. But Up was probably one of the most emotional, beautiful movies I have ever seen. And I was so emotionally drained after that movie that I was unable to ever watch it again. And the idea of reading that experience in a book really, really makes me excited. So let's talk about the back of the book. It says, all you need is Ove. At first sight, Ove is almost certainly the grumpiest man you will ever meet, a curmudgeon with staunch principles, strict routines, and a short fuse. Sound familiar? People think him bitter, and he thinks himself surrounded by idiots. Ove's well-ordered, solitary world gets a shake-up one November morning when the appearance of new neighbors, a chatty young couple and their 2 boisterous daughters, who announce their arrival by accidentally flattening Ove's mailbox with their U-Haul. What follows is a heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unlikely friendships, and a community's unexpected reassessment of the one person they thought they had all figured out. A word-of-mouth bestseller that has caused a sensation around the world, Fredrik Backman's irresistible novel about the angry old man next door is an uplifting exploration of the unreliability of first impressions and a gentle reminder that life is sweeter when it is shared with other people. So excited to read this. Like, how does that not sound amazing? I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the September reads, guys. I'm so excited. And then last but not least, we have Britt-Marie was here. This, I feel like, sums me up in a book, so I'm a little nervous to read this book. I may not get to it this month, depending on my emotional capacity, but I do think it sounds very, very sweet. Britt-Marie can't stand a mess, but that's exactly what her life has become. Leaving behind an unfaithful husband and a lifetime of taking care of everyone else before herself, she moves to a backwater town for a job looking after a crumbling recreation center, the favorite hangout of the town's supremely untalented children's soccer team. With her strict views about all things from the proper arrangement of a cutlery drawer to the appropriate time to wake up, Britt-Marie knows exactly how those around her should live their lives, and she isn't shy about sharing her opinions. But hidden inside this socially awkward, fussy busybody is a woman who has more imagination, bigger dreams, and a warmer heart than anyone around her realizes. As the fastidious Britt-Marie is drawn into the daily doings, hopes, and dreams of her unpredictable fellow citizens, she's faced with new challenges and must learn to let down her guard. In this small town of misfits, can Britt-Marie find a place where she truly belongs? Just the back breaks my heart. I'm so excited to read this book. And there you have it, guys. That brings us to the end of the September reads. So altogether, I believe I have 13 books. So 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I actually forgot the 13th book. Let me go grab it. I was wondering why the stack felt light. The final book in the 13th book is The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes. This is written by Elissa R. Sloan, and basically it is telling the story of a pop culture artist who came to fame and eventually committed suicide. So we're basically getting the story told from multiple different viewpoints, including Cassidy herself, as we try to unravel what led to her unraveling and what eventually led her to take her own life. So this is basically looking through the lens of these various band members and this character to better understand what drove her to the decision that she made. Let me read the inside cover. This definitely sounds like a darker book, but I think it'll be really fun to read, and it definitely hits that contemporary literature vibe for me. Cassidy Holmes isn't just a celebrity. She is Sassy Gloss, the fourth member of the hottest pop group America has ever seen. Hotter than Britt-Marie dancing with a snake, hotter than Christina getting dirty. Gloss was the pop act that everyone idolized. Fans couldn't get enough of them, their music, and the drama that followed them like a moth to a flame until the group's sudden implosion in 2002. And at the center of it all was Sassy Cassie, the Texan with a signature smirk that had everyone falling for her hook, line, and sinker. But now she's dead, suicide. The world is reeling from this unexpected news, but no one is more surprised and shocked than the three remaining Glossies. 15 years ago, Rose, Mary, and Yumi had been the closest to Cassidy, and this loss is hitting them hard. Before the girls split, they each had a special bond with her. Truths they told each other, secrets they shared. But after years apart, each of them is wondering, what could they have done? Told in multiple perspectives, including Cassidy's, and through different timelines, this is a behind-the-scenes look into the rise and fall of a pop icon, as well as a penetrating examination of the dark side of celebrity and the industry that profits from it. This kind of feels like the retelling stories of Mademoiselle Chanel and the story of Princess Diana, sorry. I'm just so curious to see what we'll get to discover through this book. And I just really want to see where the story is going to take us from the perspective of human involvement and the way that humans think. Again, this does sound like it'll be a darker read, but I do think it'll be the perfect read for this upcoming fall season. And it's probably one that I'll tackle closer to the end of the month so that we're really rooted into that fall weather. And that does bring me to the conclusion of all 13 books that have been selected for this upcoming September. I just wanted to say, if you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I absolutely adore books, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this list that I have upcoming on my TBR. If you guys have any amazing books that you have on your TBR that are perfect for the fall weather that I absolutely have to read, any authors that I need to be exposed to, please let me know. I love adding new books to the collection of books that I would like to get my hands on and to read. As you can see, I'm an avid fiction reader, so please do not hesitate to give me your opinions. I love hearing comments. If any of these books inspired you to add them on to your TBR, then definitely let me know as well, as I look forward to reading and sharing these experiences with all of you. For those of you that are new here, if you enjoyed the video, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. I put out bookish related content every Wednesday and Sunday, every once in a while with the random twist of travel or what's in my bags, things like that. Just random throwbacks to other things that we did, as well as almost like a memory diary of all of the travel, so we can go explore wonderful places together. And for those of you that are returning, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the community and for supporting me and for helping me grow this channel. I do think that reading is all about community, and it opens up so many different experiences for all of us and allows us to think of so many different people from so many different walks of life. And it's just such a wonderful thing to share with everyone. I also think it's so fascinating that sometimes what the author is writing might be very different in their head compared to how it's interpreted by the reader, and that every reader will take something different from every book. And that discussion, I think, is what allows us to really capture the profound beauty of humanity. So once again, can't thank you guys enough for sharing that experience with me. I'm clearly very philosophical today. I just want to say, wherever you are, whether it's morning, evening, or night, for every single one of you, I hope you're having a blessed day, a beautiful day, surrounded by your loved ones and staying safe. I know that everything seems like it's changing very quickly, especially with the year moving by so quickly. And it's those celebrated moments with our loved ones that matter most. And I sincerely hope that all of you are enjoying that warmth and joy and feeling the fall transition as we move into September. Until next time, I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.